Hi there, this is Izzy. This week, I don't think my Sa Nook Dendrobium Thailand Black is looking very well. So this plant, just off the top of the shot, has been flowering recently, which surprised me quite a lot because I wasn't totally sure that it had put out new roots. It's one that I bought in a shop about 9 months ago, just in a grocery store, and it had this keiki coming out at the time, but I took it out the pot then, wasn't totally convinced it had that many roots, and repotted it into a bark and sphagnum moss mixed medium. Since then, well, it's flowered, but also since it's finished flowering, some of the older canes have started to look shriveled and brown with their leaves. Now, I wouldn't be too worried if I thought that new growth was coming on the newer canes as well, back here, but actually I'm not totally sure what's happening. So I think I'd like to take this plant out of its pot and have a look. There is a risk that I'll do exactly what my partner thinks I always do to sick orchids. Poke, 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 poke. But in this case, I think it's valid to get it out the pot, take a look, see what happens, maybe change the medium up a bit, because it's possible it's never been potted. Before this point it was in some kind of dense soil stuff, so it's possible it doesn't like the mixed bark and sphagnum moss if it's not doing so well. And if it is doing well, I can just change the medium and put it straight back in. It's just after flowering, it's a good time to do it. So let's get to it and see what we find. Well, we have a dense load of not very good sounding roots. Can you hear that? I think they're all spongy and wet. As I pull at them, the exterior sheath is all just breaking off and leaving the centre of the root exposed, which makes me think they are all gone. So this orchid might be pretty much rootless. Oh, there's some very old remnants of the original potting medium in here, but otherwise, I'm not totally sure there's very much going on. Oh, we've got a speck of root there. So I'm going to go through each one of these roots in turn and determine whether they're any good and take out anything that's not. Okay, so there's a lot of rotten mass around the base of this plant. There's a lot of rotten roots going on in here. It's no wonder that it just flowered and then hasn't done very much since. Many of the roots that even felt firm, and taking them off, and essentially, I can't get this to focus, but they're black on the inside. Okay, it's getting to a point where I'm just left with very little root system. I'm going to take it to the sink now and try and wash out some of what's gunking up in here and possibly has been contributing to all this rot. Well, as it turns out, most of the roots were dead. So I've tried chopping away as much as I can of what I can tell for sure is dead. I've used tweezers to try and extract what were quite a few pieces of bark and lots of soil packed in between these very dense roots. And what we've got left are very firm roots, but I'm not entirely sure if they're alive. Quite a lot of them have got dark ends, so you see, I'm not convinced about those. I guess I'll take the flower spike off as well, both of them. So this one had a very good set of flower spikes this year. So that will help it recover slightly, but well, that's not looking great, is it? So I've been reading up on how to rehab dendrobiums who haven't got very many roots, and all I hope is that I've removed as many roots here as I possibly can that weren't looking very good. Maybe I'll remove a little bit more. But in general, I think probably any good roots this plant had were rotted by everything that was being held around the base of the plant. And so over the course of the last 9 months, this has happened. Now, maybe some of these canes have got the energy to put out roots. Some of them are quite firm, quite good. They're a little bit shriveled, a little bit, but maybe this one could do it. It looks like in the past it has tried to put out roots, but they have rotted. So I'm not totally sure. Maybe what I'll actually do is put this plant in some sphagnum moss to try and keep it nice and hydrated. I've also heard of people online using keiki paste at the base of dendrobiums to get them to root. So if you've got experience of that, if you've got success of that, let me know. Keiki paste isn't something I've got in stock, but if it would help this plant to survive, I'd definitely take it. But it does look like this plant has suffered from being potted in what was originally soil. The root's been really dense. I haven't removed it properly when I repotted it, and it's just got worse and worse. So, okay, let's get some sphagnum moss, put it in that. Oh dearie me, so the Sa Nook Dendrobium's not looking very good. I've repotted it into sphagnum moss, I've given it some supports, and I'm going to leave it to dry out for a couple of days to let any wounds on the roots and the base of the plant heal, and then I'll start to water it just with water, not with food, so that that very small root system can rehabilitate. I'm hoping that the humidity of the sphagnum moss and everything will encourage some root growth down there. But if you do have experience with these orchids and with keiki paste, let me know down below. If you think that would be a good thing, I'll go and get some. Thanks ever so much for listening. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. I put out new videos every week. But that's it from me for now. Bye!